Welcome back, Keepers of the Flame. Okay, I just did a video, and for whatever reason, I got distracted with Sophie. We're just snuggling. And I think it just went away. It disappeared because I didn't press something. I don't know. Right, Sophie? So, seeds, right? We're coming up on Aries full moon, which is Aries is the seeds of the zodiac. So, breaking that open from the inside out and facilitating a nurturing environment for that to grow and flourish. What does that look like on the physical scale, and what does that look like on the metaphysical scale? Okay. What do we want to plant in our garden? What seeds do we want to cast out in our environment to facilitate growth? How can we make our environment conducive to healthy growth? Because that's the only thing that's going to do it. If you cast a slew of seeds onto rocky soil, there might be some coming up in the cracks and whatnot, but you're not going to have a very flush garden to feed you your physical self or your soul, right? You're not going to be able to do that. So choosing the right environment, okay? And that entails, for if you're a gardener, you already know that entails creating a bed for the seeds to lay in. So what does that look like? Because all the things that grow, and you don't even have to do the seeds. You could do the plants or the bushes or the trees or whatever it is. They all require different conditions. So what's a good way to start those conditions? What's a good way to create the environment for growth? Because the environment facilitates the growth. If we just put it in the soil willy-nilly and forget about it, yeah, it's survival of the fittest. But if it's your food, if it's sustaining you, you're going to want to put some care and some thought and some knowledge and wisdom into that process. Same goes with human beings. If this is a person that's around you on a daily basis, you want to put some thought, care, and knowledge into facilitating an environment for healthy growth. When we think of people, we unfortunately like to use these broad brushes that society has given us to paint with. So this is going to require to understand that no two people are the same. You can generalize a few things about human beings, but the reality of the situation is that everybody needs different things. Everybody depends on different things to be nurtured and to grow. And so understanding that we're going through a massive upheaval, and for that seed to break from the inside out, it's going to need the conducive environment to exist in. Otherwise, it's not gonna be worth the seed breaking open, so it won't bother. It'll lay dormant until it knows the environment will facilitate its growth. Cute, huh? So the idea behind this process is facilitating an environment for people to feel like they can break out of their shell, for people to get a sense of understanding that it's okay to be yourself here. It's okay to expose the most delicate and vulnerable parts of yourself in this particular environment. Now, that comes with its own warning label that I'm sure that plenty of people on the internet can give you. But go at it with an understanding that no one gets allowed to drink from your source, your cup, unless you allow them to, unless you let them do it. It's all about the opening up to that. So if you don't want to open up to that, if you choose another pathway, then it's not going to be such a big deal unless you choose the pathway of opening yourself up to that. And how do you understand that? Sometimes you need a lesson. Sometimes you need the universe to come in and knock down your door and be like, you invited us. And you're like, no, I didn't. Ooh, but you did. You just weren't conscious of it. This is why shadow work is so important. It's making the unconscious conscious. It's bringing those aspects of the self to light. Where do you feel boxed in? Where are you stuck? Where do you feel like I can't grow in this area? Well, what are you holding on to that's keeping everything stagnant? What environment are you not creating for things to thrive here? Now, it may be that the thing that maybe you've been entrained to desire or want or need or whatever isn't really serving you. And that's why you feel the way you do when you're going into this type of metaphysical and physical work. You're not seeing the picture, the reality of the situation. You're just not. You're not envisioning what the truth of the matter is. And it's when the physical meets the metaphysical. When we grow our own physical garden and it comes up empty-handed, well, we have to go back to the soil level and figure out what happened. Everything starts at the soil level. Everything starts there. If you do not till your soil, there will be no garden. If you do not understand and cultivate what's up, it's not going to be fertile soil. Now, tidbit to learn: tilled soil does not facilitate positive growth. You just want to cast the seeds a little bit and then see what grows up. It's a whole whatchamacallit, it's a death breaking down into nutrients and leaving that set as it needs to set, and then casting the seeds and having that soil take care of itself and do what it needs to do, because there's a layer that protects things. So when you till up the soil, you're actually releasing all those microbes and microorganisms that actually facilitate root growth out into the air, and then they just blow away. Okay, so when we have done the shadow work over the winter in the underworld and broken things down and composted, if you will, thoughts, situations, ideas, perspectives, and patterns that we have created, we now have that soil already composted, if you will, and in a way cultivated without needing to redo it in the springtime. So then we're now just casting the seeds that we want to grow in our garden. And others might be left more in the dark. And that is a choice, but it's also a result of their environment. It's a result of their environment. And that's what we've been forbidden to talk about, forbidden to know, forbidden to understand on every single layer of life. If there's not a positive outcome, we don't say to the plant or the shrub or the tree, what the fuck is wrong with you? We go back to the soil level and be like, okay, what happened? Where did we go wrong? How did we not create an environment that was conducive to this particular bush, tree, shrub, perennial, whatever it is, fruit, veggie to grow? What happened? What happened at the soil level where the conditions were just not right? Do we let it get infested? Why did it get infested? Because it wasn't given the right nutrients. Nothing in nature is ever taken out without there being a deficit or a dis-ease in that particular plant or tree, shrub. Nothing is ever attacked by outside sources that was healthy to begin with. If it's healthy and it's producing and it's got everything it needs and it's not going to eventually die, nothing's going to attack it. That's huge on so many scales. I can't even be, like, there's not enough time. Let me restate that. If something is attacked on the outside, there was already dis-ease within. This is a really tough pill to swallow, but this is going to be the key to moving forward in a new world manner, because we've already had this information. What are the white coat community, when they cast their seeds or their pills, right, out into a research experiment, and they get back a placebo effect of like a bunch of people who just took sugar and got better. Now, instead of dismissing that and calling it pseudoscience, why don't we investigate what those people did? Why don't we investigate how those people thought, what their lifestyle looked like, what their diet looked like, what their thought process was, the environment that they had around them, the people, places, pets. We get a wee will, snuggle, plus, little seat. Okay, sorry. What was in their environment that was conducive to them healing? I know. But we can't make any gold pentacles off of that. Okay, Sketchy. We hear you. We get it. Everybody's facing extinction, including you. So, might want to get on board. Schnuckums. So when we're having this inner debate and we're taking what we can to the outside environment, really starting to become detectives and investigators when it comes to what was going on, what was really going on. Not what some white coat wants to slap on you for a diagnosis. Oh, you have this. Oh, you have that. Oh, this mental disorder. And oh, this prognosis. And oh, this ABCDEFG manual says that you fall under this label of existence. Just ignoring entirely the environment. Just ignoring it. It was all mommy's fault. It was all mommy's fault. She was the one who was in charge of the environment. Well, what kind of environment was she allowed to work with? But it was mommy's fault. Okay, but what environment was mom in then? What kind of environment did she have? But it was mommy's fault. Well, okay, I get that. I get that that's your perspective, but what was mommy's environment? I'm not asking you to excuse the behavior. I'm not asking you to neglect anything that has to do with that. I'm asking you to understand the environment in order to produce a different environment. Okay, so we're moving to Pluto. Pluto's going to Aquarius. Anybody who's on the scapegoat train is going to not going to speak those words into existence. Get off the effing train, kids. Get off the effing train. Because it's going off the rails. Okay? So, okay, sorry. You got it. That's, see, this is my subconscious at work. So, when we understand the environment that created the conditions for certain things to pop up, come about, grow, and facilitate themselves, we can then remedy the environment and change the conditions of the environment. Rather than screaming at the person, why the fuck aren't you a better human being? Environment. Where are you putting yourself in your life right now? Where do you want to be? How do you want to live your life? If you're living your best life and you're authentically happy, but you don't like your outcome, or you're uncomfortable with that, or you feel like, excuse me, again, bubbly, where are you going to start growing and expanding because of the environment you've created? But if you don't like the outcome year after year after year, you're going to have to start changing some things in your environment. How you see the world, what you look at, what you listen to, what you create, what you don't create, how you conduct your life, how you interact with the people in your environment. Do you keep a clean environment? Do you ingest clean food? Do you have clean air? Air is going to be a huge thing. Air and water are going to be a huge thing for cleaning right now. That's the Aquarius. The healer is basically. So, and that's going to facilitate Chiron as well. So, different ways and modalities of dealing with that. So, and that's another key aspect that's going to play into this, the environment in which you have conducive healing to get out of the disease, or you have disease, but you know better on how to treat it. You know not to eat that thing, or you know not to put yourself in that condition, because that's what facilitates that particular outcome. We're going to start to be allowed to look at the outcome of our actions rather than being so scapegoatish. What's the outcome? What's the outcome of our choices? How did we get to the outcome? Where did this go wrong? We're going to be able to start looking at the steps in the programs and say, this wasn't a very good idea. This whole system right here, it's broken, it's been hijacked, and people are being lied to on a massive, massive scale. And now we have this horrific outcome. Can we knock it off now? Please? Getting back to the seed and how it facilitated and how it was encouraged to grow, and what seeds were encouraged to grow and other seeds that weren't encouraged to grow. Okay. All of this is going to be starting to like emerge. It's going to crack out of its shell, and we're going to have to take a cold hard look at what it is and assess correctly and change the environment so that we can actually, continue to live here on the planet as a species, hopefully. I don't know. Right, Soul Pepe? She is not disturbed. Zero fucks. Zero fucks, darling. So this is kind of stepping into that Empress energy where you're taking that giant basket of seeds that you have and casting them out in a way that is not all inclusive to one person or all inclusive to one particular party, but a general casting of just loving and respectful seeds. Now, what does that look like? Well, when you're dealing with a cashier that has a frown on their face, telling them to have a beautiful day, asking them to come back into their bodies. Hey, it smells like this in here, and hopefully it smells good, but it smells like spring outside, or it looks like this, or it tastes like that, or it feels like this. Like whatever it is, the packaging on this item you're ringing out feels like that. I'm just giving you examples. So how you engage with people, asking them to come back in their bodies. That's a good start to planting some seeds. Asking people politely in a pleasant way to come back into their bodies. Come back into consciousness in a very pleasant and delightful way. How do you get there without having to highlight, oh, gee, this just happened in the news, or, oh, gee, that just happened. How do you get that person to enjoy being in their own skin? How do you enjoy being in your own skin? What can you now do that's going to push you out a little bit further? What do you need to get out of that shell a little bit? Not to the point of complete and utter distraction, but to the point of like expansion and growth. Because what oftentimes looks like complete destruction is just a growth process. Hence what we're going through right now. It's just a growth process. You're going to handle it how you need to handle it. But if you can handle it with some grace and some gratitude and honor the growth process rather than spread a bunch of fear, not nutter thing, not job, whatever stuff, that's probably going to be a better way to handle this situation. So, because what you can do, it's a fun little game. Just take it all the way to the end. If you do want it to end and you just wanted to get it over with and you just want to tell everybody that they're going to do this, that, and the other thing in like a little while. Sorry, my neighbor's like chiseling away at something right now. Are you going to do something different? What are you going to do? If you knew exactly the end of whatever the heck that everybody seems to be hell-bent on predicting, if you knew that, what are you going to do different? What would you do different? Darling, what are you waiting for? Go do it! If your prerogative is naggle nuggling, right? Yes, darling. Would it be? She responds lovely to that. No. Just a naggle nuggle. Yes. Oh, yes. So, what would you do? How would you live your life? Take it in that direction. Be like, screw you, doomsday dude. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna freaking go for it. And nothing's gonna stop me. Boom shakalaka. Now know your limitations. I know Saturn's in freaking Pisces. Limit on all the grinding stones, darling. But you've got to pick one that smells the best to you. And put your nose to it. Right, so Fefe? It's just like, this is good. Right here, this grinding stone. This is a grinding stone. Snaggle snuggles can be grinding stones. Absolutely. So, expanding the seeds where you want them to grow and in creating an environment that facilitates that growth. And if you fuck it up, don't beat yourself up. If you screw it up and your seeds don't sprout or your seeds get leggy or whatever the heck it is, don't beat yourself up. I've been gardening for years. The first couple years, I had like seedlings that were like, I can't move my other arm, but it's like, and I'm like, how the hell am I going to put these in the ground? And I buried them too deep and they just rotted off. And I was like, oh my God. So it's a learning process. You don't have to and you can watch some YouTube videos. You can learn from other people. Sunlight's the best. Grow lights. You can supplement, but you got to be careful because they get leggy and then you go put them in the soil and they just lay there like, freaking really? So again, knowing the environment and whatever else. Right? Snaggle puss. So getting to that understanding of not overdoing it. And when it comes to people too, you don't need to sit there for 4 hours and listen to somebody's life story. It's not necessary. They can deal with some of their own stuff, but you can still spread that positivity, that love, that light, and hold some space for the pain, And there are certain people that I've been out in public and they're just random people and they will unload and I'll be like, okay, that's unfortunate. You listen, but you can't do anything for them, and that's okay. It's not that you're not supposed to be listening, that you're not supposed to be present. It's just an idea, a thought, an understanding that there is such a lack right now of understanding on how to hold space for people. And even the psychology community is not very conducive unless you find a really good therapist. psychotherapist, it can be really daunting, even just that exploration process, because it gets exhausting after a while of like, you tell one person like the whole thing and they're like, okay, let's get you started on this, and then they just send you a bunch of workbooks and they're like, oh, we'll talk to you next week. So you do the workbooks and then they're like, so this week I want to talk about this, and you're like, but I just filled out all these workbooks, like, can we talk about that? No, let's talk about this. And okay, so they're supposed to be the expert, right? So it can be daunting, it can be exhausting, and it can be trying. So if you want to get there, you have to be patient with yourself and patient with others to get there. And if one person isn't jiving with you, that's okay. Pick a different person. Okay? It is a sad day and age when we have to pay hundreds of dollars an hour to have someone sit and just listen to us. That's sick. I don't care who you are. That's really sick. But at the same time, we've made this Pentacles into gold coins. We have made the pentacles into some sort of monetary value, and it's not conducive very well to like human expansion and growth. It's just a way of kind of controlling things and keeping things in a particular way that nobody seems. I'm gonna post that song by Aurora underneath this video, The Seed. You can't eat your money, darling. So yes, it does help, absolutely. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it's being abused, so we need to be careful. We need to be respectful of it. We need to help feed our families with it. We need to create a good environment and facilitate the things that like help expansion. I mean, Sophie's loving her snuggle time right now, but my daughter, I mean, she's almost like a therapy animal. Absolutely. And it's just her. It's just who she is. She's so sweet. So making sure we accommodate things like this, right? Snuggle time for Sophie every day, for her benefit as well as ours. See how that interconnectedness and that interdependency and a fractaled ecosystem of interdependence kind of creates an environment that's conducive to healthy growth and expansion, right? And I do this, with my dogs too. So it's a coming to understanding how you grow and how you show yourself and how you expand in that aspect of things outside of your seed. And this facilitates that growth, right? Right. It's crazy. Just loving things for what they are, and loving how they coexist with you, right? Honoring that process and creating, a ritualistic pattern around it so that it keeps coming in and that you keep growing and expanding that, right? She's like a little seed that's gonna come to life as soon as I get her a coffee bean, right? Bisky. Okay, so I hope that clears up like the post that I did with Teal Swan and the people in hell. We don't need to join them in their hell, but we also don't need to make ourselves targets by smothering them with our positivity, but just asking them questions that are going to lead to possibly a seed growing for them. And not everybody needs to be on the same path, but like those of us who are called to assess and spread some knowledge and possibly a little bit of healing in the process, it's more I don't know what the right word for this is, more pronounced to us. The suffering, it's more in our face, because we don't escape to the world of positive vibes only. We're just, I mean, it's almost like we're not allowed to. I tried to go there. I was like, but did you guys like know that like there's just, we can't, okay. So it was me just looking at everything going, can't talk about it, not gonna look at it, can't talk about it, not gonna look at it, can't talk about it, not look. Dude, that's asking somebody to wear a straitjacket 24/7. Like, I can't, the denial thing is not, I don't want to live in Egypt, okay? I don't. That's not my home. So, so again, not ignoring it, not acting like it doesn't exist, honoring it, and just asking them if they would like to come visit home planet. Of being pleasantly invited to be back in their bodies and with you in a moment. Just a brief moment. Just a little teeny tiny moment. Can make the world of difference. It really can. So go out and try it. Cast those seeds like a beautiful empress. You don't have to be female to do this, by the way. Okay? So until next time, I'm going to try to do a read here once she's finished with her snuggle. And I will see you next time. Keep it flame.